Here we are. Here it is. Okay. Can you hear me, mommy? Can you hear me calling? Mommy, mommy, ooh. Well, here it is. We're moving close to April, and it was a beautiful day today. I gave an hour-long chat or so this afternoon from the library, and here we're back at the school, and I want to say welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, and I, your griot, Sensei Al, here to entertain and to make you think. Not make you think, help you think. Assist you in thinking. Hey, Twitch. Hey, you. You. Can you hear me, baby? Can you hear me talking? Anyway, so I think we came to a consensus that we were going to kind of talk about what sticks people, what makes people, get into a rut, why are they habitual? Why do they do the same thing over and over, right? And it's quite an interesting thing because even when you think people are like really spontaneous and different all the time, that's a rut in itself. I spent a good 40 years trying never to do the same thing twice, never to, well, that's a rut right there, right? So I kind of realized, okay, I'm only going to do stuff and I'm going to keep doing it until I kind of done it all, right? And that was a pretty good. That's one of my semi rules, right? Meaning wherever I move, you know, to go on like road trips. I love road trips. Go from here to there to there to here to here to there. That's why I like being in the circus. That's why all the times I've been in the circus, I love the fact that wherever you go, there you are. You take your house with you, right? And you take the crew with you, right? Because you can't have a circus all by yourself, you know? It's got to be kind of a crew, right? It's got to be a cadre, right? Got to be a chorus, right? Shock troops. And and that's one of the best things about being a human being is co-creating with other human beings. And then you don't quite get stuck in a rut, because you kind of are with other people who kind of push you this way and that way, and it takes you out of the rut, right? So I love being with people. I'm gregarious. I'm very personable. I'm non-threatening, but I am, what's a word that's, you're non-threatening, but you're constantly pushing people out of their comfort zone, right? That's me. That's why I'm an acquired taste. That's why some people can't stand me, or at least it takes them some time to be acquiring that taste. That is me. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Infinity or Miss Infinity? Yeah, you're live, baby. You're live. Anyway, Mr. Infinity, how have your travels been? You know, Lauren by Zero Infinity. So how the travels been? Haven't seen you in a little bit. Hope you're doing well. There's Twitchy. There's Lauren. And here's your Sensei All Bob. So we're talking sticks to you. What makes you sticky? you know. And when I was younger, I liked people who were women. Like most of the women I first kind of started hanging out with, romantically per se, were usually older than me, right? They knew what they wanted, they knew how they wanted it. They enjoyed being with me because I was me and not because I was going to take care of them or because usually they had more money, they had more. And it was the moment that we were in. It was the moment that was important. It was the moment that we lived in. And I really liked that. And I still do really like that, right? But the other thing that's nice is to have someone that you've known a long time. Like today, in that, I had four different phone calls with two people I've known for over uh, 30 years. And one I've known more than 50 years. And two other people who, I've known for a year or two, but I like a lot and I enjoy the conversation, right? And we're into it for 6 minutes and 7 minutes. And the little counter says there's, Twitchy and Lauren have left the building. Oh, now they're back again. And anyway, so in my early days, in my 30s, this was an experience I had in the 30s that and again, up until I was 50, 45, that's when I started, you know, seriously, going to school, getting my MSW. So I kind of seriously analyzed myself because when you become a shrink, you're supposed to analyze yourself. And, I kind of looked at my foibles. And one of them was when in my 30s, when I got divorced from my first wife, it was a good 6, 7 years that I had some really great relationships with women who were five of them I would still be with if I married, if I had a child. And well, that's what they want. Five of them wanted children. They were in their 30s. They, after their fooling around in their wild and crazy days and all of that, they kind of came upon me and said, of all the guys, here's one guy who probably would be the best father of a child that I could have with him. And now that's a quite, honorable thing. But they didn't ever kind of, step up to and say, hey, this is what I want, they just kind of, they still love the fact, hey, this is just really easy kind of relationship. We're just, we're not living together. Da, da, da. Now, three of them I ended up living with for an extended period of time. And then I met their parents. And their parents all said, you're the guy for her. Yeah, yep. And that's kind of what scared me away from them. What a stupid thing I did. Because I, was allowing a habitual activity within my subconscious that I wasn't even conscious of change my life. I wouldn't be the guy I am today if I'd been with those. I'd be somebody else, and I probably could have been maybe better. I, could have maybe might have had children. My little swimmers, I had myself tested early on, and because I had a couple of female friends who got pregnant, and they were my friends, and the guys who knocked them up just threw them to the corner, to the curb, and I ended because I was their friend, helping them deal with their issue, right? And that kind of clouded my picture on that motif. So I actually had myself tested and found my little swimmer boys were slow, right? And the modality folk told me, well, it's not that they're not villain, they're just kind of, they're like lazy, they kind of like me, really don't fight for wanting to get in there, and so they kind of just lay on the bed, don't get around to it. And I was told that if I never wanted to get someone pregnant, I should never wear underpants because my little guys want to stay warm. So I wanted them to be a little more good swimmers. I should wear tighty whities and keep them close to my body and keep them warm, keeping them, cool in the breeze. Um, negated the shot of me being a daddy, right? The other thing they said, um, after 30, if you keep dangling them, they will get they will get so bored they will forget how to swim, and so you really will have issues about having a child, right? Not that you couldn't, you just have to do some things to make them a little more hep too. Anyway, the bottom line is those five women, didn't have a kid with. And again, it was stupid of me to let my habitual subconscious thing of not wanting to, you know, after my experience of being married for 8 years, which was I had 8 great years. It's just we split and that was a little more disappointing than I thought. Meaning, I thought it didn't really bother me because we stayed friends. I still loved her, and she went on and had her life, and I had my life. But it actually did. Years later, when I was in my mid 40s, getting my MSW, and I had to, shrink myself. I kind of because I looked at a whole bunch of things and said, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And then I kind of, made all the little, you know, went into state, used, that's when I really perfected my, I had been meditating since I was 18, 19, 18, 19, somewhere in there, when I was in Hofstra, and I kind of stumbled across some Maharishi who could just snap his fingers and put you in state, right? Which is kind of an exciting, interesting experience, but not as rewarding as learning how to meditate and going into state yourself. Um, and that's why, yes, I can do a guided meditation and take you guys into state, but I want you guys to see the value of this and as your tool. Right? So I was just wondering, you know, hold on a second, let me see something. Oh, we're down to one, folk. Where's my microphone? Here it is. Anyway, so that's this evening's subject matter. Why do we get stuck? You know? Why do we let habitual activities become habits and then addictions and some of that? And what can we do to break those habits? What can we do to manifest a positive outlook of, hey, this is kind of the direction I want to go. Let me navigate in that direction, right? So what do you guys think? I want to hear from the chorus there. What do you find as your habitual activities? Why do you think they're caused? What do you think you can do? If not yourself, more in the motif of a theory of others, and there's all of us, and I will respond. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Yep, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But again, there is the other side of the motif of the moment, you know. Um, and in all those relationships I had in my 30s, um, the best part of them was being in the moment, was being spontaneous, and that's why, with these people, I really kind of clicked, right? And the fact that I didn't, um, if they were to speak more to the fact of, hey, this is what I want, I would have been probably better at ability, and I didn't, my fault, my bad was that I wasn't able to say, so what do you want? How do you want this? You know, I was just enjoying the ride, you know, and I was there to support and be and give that person, a real great experience. But I was more like the maitre d, making sure that everything was fine and really great, and we were having a great experience and living the moment. But I wasn't thinking about, you know, what we could do later, or what, you know, wasn't definitely not thinking about kids. Hmm. I don't know if any of those are faults, Twitch. It's just, you know, I guess my default, right? You just default to that. It's not associating with anyone. Well, I don't know. You associate with folk, From my experience, you associate pretty good. All the people that we were around, you weren't anxious about them or put off by them. You interacted. You know, you may not have like gone out of your way, but not everyone is as. And that's kind of one of the things I came back. Took the boat the other way. Is that I really do kind of go out of my way to interact with everyone. I don't try to get in their way or get in their face, but I try to resonate with the fact that they're there, and I see them, and hey, how you doing? What's going on? Tell me what's your story, and I interact with it because I find two things. That's part of my service to Love's co-creation, but it's a lot of fun. Like today, at least four people. I interacted, meaning spent a good deal of time talking to, listening, saying, okay, who are you? Let's eat our sandwich together. What's, you're sitting right across from me instead of me ignoring you. How you doing? And all three of those people, I had an extraordinary experience, Um, and if I see them again, I'll enjoy talking to them again. And, three or four times will be more than just a coincidence. We can become a friend. And that's all our relations, right? But in the more connected relationships, I'm still, really, I've had a lot of nice little, in the last, since I got sick in 2014, I mean, really sick, where it changed my whole lifestyle. Um, I've never had a hard time being alone. I'm never bored. And what's good is to do both, initiate and observe. I'm really a big observer. I'm really an introvert, in the deeper sense of who I am, my Aquarian, Uranus self. I'm an introvert, but I have this, being the gregarious guy I am, it enables me. It's like sounding. It's like a sonar. I'm the extrovert, and that's the ping going out, and then I'm the introvert watching the return, and I analyze. And I pretty much analyze everything, and which is not a bad thing when you are gregarious and respond pretty. Hey, let's go do that. I mean, there's nothing. Somebody wants to go do something. Hey, I'm up for it. John keeps going. Hey, let's go to LA. I go, sure, let's go. And before 20 minutes goes by, oh, I can't do that. So he wanted to go to New York a couple of weeks ago. Hey, let's do that. And I'm up for it. I'm always up for a road trip, right? And at this age, I'm also up for, hanging with somebody for the rest of eternity, And and I can do that with almost everybody in the universe, because I'm really, getting more and more closer to the realization that I'm just an atom of everyone else, like we are. I love, I was talking to a friend of mine two friends who are totally, everything in their universe, they relate to either Star Trek, Babylon, everything Star Trek, all the different Star Treks, Babylon 5, that whole motif. Yes. And so we were, and it's like in code. Everything is like in construct to Star Trek. So one of the cadre once asked me, is there nothing that you don't reference to a movie? Yes, anything Star Trek. And so one of the things that, there was the Borg, right, where everybody's a drone, right? But everybody was also, a individual, because Seven and I got back to being a human being, and only because instead of being a drone, having everyone in her head, she had no one in her head, yet she had to deal with all these people on this tin can of a starship. And the other one I really liked was Yoda. No, what's the guy? He was on um, Deep Space Nine, or whatever that was, and the cop who was, he could turn into anything, and his people lived in a big puddle, in the Great Link, and that's kind of humanity. We're somewhere between the Borg and the Great Link, and and yet we were stuck into this avatar of a bag of water, which is like incarceration. It's like putting you in a cell. And so we have all of these influences, inputs, plus we are totally freaking lied to. I mean, our history, where we came from, who we are, where we came from, and what are we doing here? All three of those, are the raison d'etre, the most important thing to what's going on, and yet we are lied to. It isn't about politics. It isn't about your job. It isn't even about who you're married to, your kids, your parents, your church, your God. Those are all irrelevancies, don't matter, because they're all made up. They're all falsehoods, Whatever religion you think you're part of, it's just a business plan, Now, not to say that there isn't a prime mover in the universe, power higher than us. But again, in Babylon 5, in the wars of the shadows and the Vorlon, they were like mommy and daddy, right? But there were these other characters who were the elders, that you never saw them. They were still around somewhere, but you just never saw. They didn't bother with you. And there was a great scene where, this character, female character, who's like, the head of the place, and she gets in her little scooter and goes out and checks something out, and she gets kind of sucked into a neck of the woods that no one is in, and she no oh actually it wasn't that, it was this woman who was like an anthropologist and went out and studied necks of the woods that no one's gone to, and the corporations want to know, so then go and mine it, or get slaves or whatever. And she's the first contact person. She goes out there and checks things out. And she goes out to a neighborhood that nobody goes to, and she checks it out, and she bumps into these elders, right? And they kind of come right by her, pick her up, look at her like, what is this? Like how we would deal with an ant, right? And then chuck her off to the side. And because their physics is on another plane of existence from ours, just their near contact with this spaceship and this person, everything dies. She's like heading towards the planet to burn up, and she's losing oxygen. And only because somebody back at the ranch said, she's going out, we should actually send her some backup. So they call up their own home and get some people to go check on her, and just show up just in the nick of time. I mean, the guys or the elders who came and looked at her and just threw her, just like she was a, you know, piece of used bubble gum, and went on their way, leaving her there for about 10 hours. And she's slowly getting close to burning up, and her ship's starting to glow. And she's like, not having enough oxygen. These guys show up and save her home. So she gets back to Babylon 5, and she meets the diplomat who was thinking about her, who called up his home planet and said, hey, you got anybody out in Section 7? Why don't you go? There's somebody, friend of mine who's out there, and I just want you to, she might need some backup. And they just show up in the nick of time. Anyway, she gets back to Babylon 5, and she kind of, tells him what happened, and she's kind of shook because she's been to all these other planets and thought she was cool and nothing would shake her. But coming in contact with these things that were so out of context from everybody. I mean, all the other people they wrote, oh, yes, the first contact, yes, they're turtles, they're rocks, they're this or that. But there's a point of context that they can relate to, right? And then they can, become friends or enemies, whatever. Not these guys, because they looked at everyone in the rest of the universe who were all those other peoples and planets and species and everything. It's like they were ants, to step on them or throw them to the curb or whatever. And that was, and so the guy is like, she's like, and so they're in the big mall, and there's this guy selling flowers, and he looked at this plant, and this little ant is kind of going across the leaf. Now this is out in space, a zillion light years from home. What's that ant doing there? Well, they brought these plants to this place, and along with the pallet came a couple of ants on the plants. And now this place has ants from Earth there. So he kind of looks at the plant, and he gets the ant to get on his glove, and he points it at, he goes, what's this? And, he's from another planet, he's not sure what Earthlings call this. And she goes, oh, that's an ant. And he goes, and how do you relate to ants? And they're there, but, we don't really, they don't even really recognize that we step on them. It's like not, big deal. He goes, well, that's what you ran into. You're the ant, that thing that you came in contact that just didn't even care about you. That's it. And that is something that Earthlings, humans, us, this time and space, not only are there extraterrestrials here, and they've been here forever, longer than us. They made us. They are our mommy and daddy, all right? and they are like the Vorlons and the Shadows, right? And they basically fight over us, just like parents, the divorced mommy and daddy and fighting over the kids. That's kind of what's happening. And then there are other extraterrestrials, and we're like, they're our cousins from over there. It's like um, that's how it's. And so we poor folk are not told anything. We are not given a heads up. We are actually lied to and told really stupid stories. And then we have wars and neuroses and psychoses. And these are the things that cause us to get stuck because it's like Hal. Hal was invented, then brought, and he was self aware. There's an artificial intelligence self aware. And he's given all these rules about, not lying, not cheating, not stealing, all these moral things that he's okay. That's my creator said this is what I need to do. So he does, and then just before he goes off on his first big mission, where he's taking humans to Jupiter, and the boss says, "Listen, Hal, you have to lie to these people. You have to cheat these people, and if you might even have to kill them." Because the most important thing is the mission, not the protection of the human beings. You're more important than they are. And it totally made him psychopath, because it broke all what he thought was, you know, his worldview, his raison d'etre. And then God tells him, his creator, his master, tells him, sorry, buddy, I told you all this stuff, but ignore that and do this. And that's what happens to human beings almost daily, And right now, our present little schizophrenia, sociopathic worldview is changing nanosecond to nanosecond, right? Anyway, so I want you to go on to my channel and more, it says movies, channels, who you are, and then there's, the things, I always forget what that's called, but you know what I'm talking about. And I've got about 300 YouTube programs from about 20 or 30 channels, playlists. Thank you, Twitchy. Go up on my playlist and check those things out because all the stuff that I talk about, there are people on it that really come from a list of videos to play. Yep, that's it. Playlist. Yes. And there are a number of people. There's a guy, I think it's Crow House, and he's from New Zealand or takes some subject matter. Jimmy Dore, he's another favorite. He's up there. And what I love about Jimmy, he is a comedian. He's funny as heck. And he is the best political pundit there is, at least in my opinion, because he's neither left or right. He doesn't, he takes everyone apart. Even people he likes, he takes them apart, in a logical way, not a mean or snarky way. And he is really good. And he's funny. So and the other guy is This Week Tonight, that English guy. It's on HBO. I got about 20 of his. And again, he takes one subject and goes way deep on it. And all these subjects are ones that affect us, And then, but the whole time he is saying things that make you laugh so hard, you snort and you piss yourself, And that's always a good sign. And then there is, the usual subjects, Linda Moulton Howe, David Icke, Jordan Maxwell, Dr. Greer, David Wilcox. Who else do I have? And I only pick their, at least in my humble opinion, their best videos. I mean, they got a ton of them up there, and you can watch all the rest. But I just have, 4 or 5 of theirs that I think, because they, in their individual way, transport some interesting knowledge that everyone should be. I mean, why doesn't science, talk about extraterrestrial? Why is anyone who talks about that made fun of in the, major going on in, the disclosure point of view, the history, the alternative history of what's been going on, forever, where we came from, that the Anunnaki made us, Inky was Lucifer as the great, meaning gave us, basically our consciousness rather than just being a moron robot. So um, these are all subjects that because millions of people have these experiences and they are kind of negated. As a guy who worked with people, I worked in prisons, schools, hospitals, jails, you name it. I worked with people who had, social problems, right? And group homes, you name it, I've done it. And basically, my experience that folks who have been institutionalized um, were usually more sensitive than the shrinks that were allegedly trying to treat them. I mean, people were listening, heard voices. I don't hear voices, but the people I worked with who did, what I realized were they were like a crystal radio. They were just tuning in other frequencies that most people can't listen to. And, if you've ever played with a crystal radio, it's very interesting because it really needs no electricity, right? It's just a crystal and the cat hair and the antenna, and you move it through there, and you do have a 9-volt battery, but that's just, you don't need it. That's just to amplify the signal. But if you have a good pair of headphones, you can plug straight in. So it's just coming out of the ether. And that's another reason why they stick the 9-volt battery, is that if you could listen to the radio and really strange stuff coming out of it, you would go, where is this coming from? Well, how come, I don't need electricity to listen to this? Well, that's because it's being powered by the ether, the vacuum, 0-point energy, just, total, and if you study, understand torsion physics, which is the physics of generating electricity by gas or coal or nuclear power, it doesn't need that. It just needs a little bit of current to make the valve, meaning at the end of the generator, instead of having a armature, that's where the current comes from, right? And that get 60 to 80%. Where if you take it off the armature, you're getting somewhere between 8 and 20%. And that's there because they want to burn oil, they want to burn coal, they want to. Okay, I'm back. Are you guys back? Are you still there? Am I still here? I'm still here. Nobody's here. Anyway, it was fun that I got stuck there while we're talking about getting stuck. But I'll talk until 50. We're at 41:24. So that's kind of where we're at, and that's what I want to do with the cadre. I want to get to a place. We are the cadre, so we are in a place that most groups aren't. Meaning we are questioning everything. We are not representing an orthodoxy, a dogma. We're trying to understand, and we're open to each of our own individual personality. We don't all have to be the same. We don't have to be alike. We don't have to have the same opinion. We are here to support each other emotionally, right? And try to understand each other psychically and intellectually. And to co-create with love an alternative aesthetic to competition, to scarcity, to fear, anger, war, violence, because all of those things are illusions. They don't exist. They are not important. They are hindrance to our spiritual growth. And that's why the cadre is so valuable, And that is why the chorus, when we're in chorus, when we're speaking in the chat, that is, it's almost a spiritual experience, right? But it's something different because the real spiritual experience is going into state, going into our Akashic record, and experiencing, sharing that experience, and then being in a house together, the Oracle of Delphi, you know. So we are on, we have, we're on the precipice of a new land, and we are on, we've set a sail, you know, and so we are on, we are on the journey, you know, and we're on the edge of landing potential, the new alternative, that's, found in the alternative aesthetic. And the major thing of that aesthetic is that it's not a dogma, that it is a lens that lends itself towards the individual seeing, you know, to freely inquiring and to sharing that collectively within a social structure that we will all be able to live in safely. It will be supportive. It will be a society of abundance. And see, the idea of socialism and communism was the idea that we'd all share, that, but that is an abundance, you know. That's kind of saying, well, there's not enough for everyone, so everyone gets a crumb, right? And the biggest chunk goes to what's, we gotta protect ourselves. So the biggest chunk goes to the army and the bureaucrats that are the Politburo, but everyone else gets an equal crumb. No, in our aesthetic, we realize there is enough and more than enough for everyone to be happy. We live on a planet in a universe of abundance. And that abundance comes from the realization that we are all one. We're all this, part of the collective, all our relations, right? So when we realize that, and when we live in every day and every way to take the peace of the earth and make it stronger through love's co-creation, all of us together, that's when we are living in abundance, and not in scarcity. And Twitchy, we do, regular physics is ununderstandable because, again, it's a perpetuation of this lie. Everything it tries to discuss, all it does is try to shore up the support for the dogmatic view, right? Not the open view, not the open source, not the, realization that we live in a world where we have abundance of everything. Now, you can't control the masses if there's an abundance for, where your energy is abundant. You don't have to pay the electric bill. You don't have to, cough up money for gas in your car. You just close your eyes, you think, and bingo, you just crossed the universe, let alone, the street, you have, the thing in Star Trek, the replicator. What is the freaking replicator but a 3D printer? Meaning they already have 3D printers that can replicate proteins. They got biological 3D printers. And so we are eking into the realization that we live in an abundant world. And when we realize we're in an abundant world, we can, we live to love everyone. We live, in every day and every way to take the peace of the earth and to to co-create with love. We live in, love is the only thing that exists. Love is God. Love is the essence of everything. That's why we share everything, because we love each other, because we are each other. There is no separation. There is no win scenario. It's all, and all we have to do to live in this world, we don't have to like climb Mount Olympus. No, we just have to close our eyes, go into state, and realize collectively that this is what it is. And when we open our eyes, that's what it is. A land of abundance where everyone is fed, is everyone is protected, everyone has the opportunity to ascend their free will's conscious self. You know? And right now we are pulling out of Pisces and living in Aquarius. And this is a transitional period, and it started back in 1965. It hit, the transitional period hit in the null of it, and started going up in 2012. And in 2022, we are going to hit another peak, and we can either ascend or we will come down another valley. And we will hit the bottom of that valley at 2035, and then go up again and hit the next peak at 2075. And at 275, in the song, in the year 2525, that song is pretty right on. Go listen to that, you know. And because it's singing the song of the Age of Aquarius, and at 275, what's going to happen is who's ever here is going to ascend, period. That's it, And the whole thing is we have two opportunities to take off at that time, meaning do better than sliding back down the hill. Because every time we slide down the hill, we gather in the opportunity of, having another 900 years of the Black Plague. We don't need that. Now, it's really not going to happen, because if it was, it would have already happened, right? But it doesn't mean that unless we come together and work, in love's co-creation, if we say no, 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 like little petuous children, go, no, no, I want to stay in this terrible world of suffering and misery, and maybe I'll have a little bit more than somebody else, and that'll make me happy. No, that's an illusion. That's getting stuck there, you know. And why do we, live each day and every others happy? Because that is the key to ascension. Because when you make others happy, it makes you happier. And the Beatles song about the love you get is twice from what you get. When you give love, you get twice as back. And if you do it not because you want to get twice as much back, but you do it because of your understanding of this will bring us all together where we can all go forward, rather than just that handful of meat puppets who think they're rich and powerful, right? So that's the story, and we're at 52:25, which is always a nice synchronistic moment. And yes, you're an art major for a reason, right? Because you're an artist. That's why. And, somebody wanted you to go to college, so you're an artist, so that's why you're an art major. And once you graduate, keep being the artist. Don't become, something mundane, Now, you can become something mundane and do it in an artistically way, meaning when I was in the seminary and they would punish you, yes, they would beat you up. Yes, they would bully you. Yes, they would trying to have anal sex with you, but they also punish you by making you work. You'd put you to work in the kitchen with the slaves, and they were slaves. You know, the seminary I went to, the people who worked there were called wombats, and they were people who were basically slaves, meaning 75 years ago, their great great grandfather started working there, borrowed money, owed when he died, he owed more money. So his family stayed there, kept working to try and pay off that debt. They couldn't pay it. So every generation went deeper and deeper in debt, right? And that's pretty much slavery. They were indentured servants. That's what they were, contractual indentured servants. And I worked in the kitchen. I said, "This is not right. We've got to stop this. How are we going to stop this? We'll go on strike. Well, what are we going to do?" I said, "Well, when it's Parents' Day, we won't make the food, and we'll go out there with signs and march around the parents, and you'll see this." And it did. Boy, did I get in trouble for that one. So they made me, go work in the farm, and I was the only person who didn't. I was working in the kitchen, so I brought apples and carrots. And the other thing they did like, I would bring baking chocolate. It wasn't sweet, but they liked dark, cooking chocolate. Who knew? And so, when I took care of the animals, I treated them nice. The horses and the cows. Cows, man, they just love being milked because otherwise they felt like they were going to blow up. I brush everybody, and so we had cows and horses, and we had sheep and goats, and they all liked hanging with humans, and for the humans to pay attention to them and be nice to them, right? Otherwise, they were scared of you because the other guys who worked there and the other students who would work there were like really nasty sociopathic kind of folk. And they just did it because they worked there because they liked torturing the animals. And I would step up and can't do that, to the point, the guy who is the state, farmer guy who had to inspect, the cows and the animals, 4 times a year. He came one time and I said, "Listen, look at this burn here. Look at this. That guy, that guy, that guy, that guy. They torture these animals. Here, this is what watch this. You know, tell that guy to pick up that cattle prod and come towards this animal." And, the animal would like totally freak out and run away. Now, watch this. I'll walk over to that animal. It will come to me and like hide behind my back. What does that show to you? Mr. Farmer Specialist, that these guys they should be arrested for animal torture. And two of the guys did because they actually took pictures of them torturing animals. And they had them, they went in and looked in their locker and found all these pictures of those guys torturing animals. So I got, and then I got in trouble for doing that. And that's why I didn't last more than, 8 months in that seminary. And they tried to kill me a couple of times. But, the head guy and the second head guy actually liked me, and they made sure I didn't die. But I ended up in a hospital once when I got really beat up. I mean, these guys tied me up and then just went at me with baseball bats and 2x4s. Broke ribs and fingers and my nose, and gave me a concussion. And I landed in a hospital. I called up my parents and said, "Get me out of here." And my father said, "Just tough it out. It'll make you stronger." You know, this is not how the world should be run. No one, the animals, me, the slaves, no, everyone is all our relations. We all live on a planet of abundance. Yes, dying Bill's character. Now I can vouch for that one since I've died so many freaking times. It's not fun though, and you're like worn down a little bit. When they said, whatever kills you makes you stronger. Just isn't that what you just said? Dying builds character. Yes. Well, it may build character, but it's still as you get older. All those things that have been broken in my body. It's like, oh yeah, I broke. Yeah, that's where I got hit with that 2x4. Oh yeah, that still hurts. And I have sores and bumps and bruises. I mean, there's a couple places I've been burnt. This one priest, would put cigarettes out on me, and I have the scars of that, and it's really interesting. Different parts of the year, certain times of year you can't see it. Other parts of the year, it's like, oh yeah, look, there's my scar. It's like, So anyway, we are this biological bag of water, and we don't understand who and what we are. We don't understand why we're here. We don't understand what where we came from, and the people and entities and governments and schools and churches, religions who are supposed to tell us this stuff and lie to us through their teeth because they want to keep us under their thumb. So we just hit 1 hour and 10 seconds. So is everyone up for a little guided meditation? Uh, and I think we're going to look at in our Akashic records individually all the things that have stuck us. What is our fly paper, right? And then we're going to see that eternal love of love's co-creation and the fact that we're all in it to win it. We're all, everybody, all our relations, furred, warm-blooded, cold-blooded, scaled, feathered. It's all our relations. Trauma time, not trauma time, no. It's when you look at things in your Akashic record, you are not experiencing them emotionally or physically. So you're not experiencing the trauma. What you're seeing is the physicality of the concept. You seeing, the hidden hand doing this. You see the powers that shouldn't be doing this. You see the sock puppets doing it, but you're not feeling the pain. You're not experiencing the trauma, the fear, the anxiety. But you're getting the 411 of where it came from and how to not be oppressed by it. So you can walk on the fly paper and not get stuck to it. Right. Just change the lens. I used to have a Bell and Howell 16 millimeter film camera. And it had 3 lenses on it. You just kind of clicked. There was a almost telephoto. There was a telephoto. There was a 50 and there was a 20. And that 50 it was more like a 62 or something, but they called it a 50. It was a great portrait lens. It really shot people like I'm shooting myself right now. And the telephoto was something far away, and the 20 was like the large picture. To get the group together, it was almost a fisheye, but not quite. So, that's how you have to see things, Twitch. You have to be able to switch those lenses and not always look through the same lens. There's 4 of us, and so everyone get in a comfy position, right? Safe and secure. Because you weren't the reason it happened. You just was the brunt of the joke or the thing that got whipped. You weren't the reason it happened. if you were born and everyone blamed you for being, oh, things suck because you were born. Sorry, you know, there were a lot of things that happened before you were born, you know. Mommy and daddy had sex, then certain hormones came together. Then you had 9 months of stuff going down, and that had nothing to do with you. And then you popped out, and just because you popped out, that didn't mean caused anything. You may be the brunt of the event, but that doesn't mean you caused it. In actuality, I haven't ever come across a single time when anyone who's being made to feel that it's their fault this happened, that it was their fault. Meaning, back in the day when I worked in the New York City Housing Authority, yeah, I saw a lot of people, have fights and beat people up and stab people and shoot people and do all that stuff. And the person who would get, taken away by the police in handcuffs is he's the perpetrator. Try to look at what the causes were, write it out, go to, people who are smarter about this, people who I studied under, people I worked for, and say, what about, look at this, look at that. It wasn't this guy's fault. Yes, he's the perp. He's the one going to be showing up at court. We have to find him a lawyer who will at least speak up to all of these mitigating circumstances. And very, very, very infrequently could I connect all the dots for the system to say, yeah, it wasn't this guy's fault. No, they just wanted a perp. They just wanted someone to blame. This guy kind of fell into Camus, the French existentialist playwright, wrote a play. I think it was called, oh, I forget what it was called, but the bottom line was this guy was just kind of a quiet, everyone kind of looked at him like, eh. I mean, he wasn't the hero. He wasn't the ingenue. He wasn't the, good, he was always in the background. He didn't say much. He was quiet. His mother was a bitch, and she owned like the cheese shop, and everyone had to, go to her place to get cheese, and she treated everyone crappy because she knew that everyone needed her cheese. And so everyone, she talked smack about everyone, made fun of everyone. And at a certain point, circumstances came together when bingo, everyone's there, and the boy, her son, is, doesn't kill her. He's just not sorry that she's dead. And now she's been murdered, but no one can pin the finger on anybody. Somebody did it, and he's the only one who verbalizes the fact that he's really not, good. The bitch is dead. I can now have a life, right? Now, the police, the judges, they all want to pin it on somebody. They got to pin it on somebody. So they pin it on him. And they take him all the way to the guillotine. And pretty much everyone in every, where the guy's arresting him, the guys he's in jail, the court people, the judge, they all kind of know he didn't do it. But there's nobody else they can blame. So they blame him, and he gets his head cut off. And that's this, the French existentialist Camus. And he's basically saying that happens to everyone. The existential reality of life is that everyone gets blamed for shit they don't do. And it's not as bad as you're getting blamed for murder and they cut your head off, but you get blamed for everything and made to feel terrible, so you live your life miserably, like you want somebody to cut your head off, And that's because we live in a world of scarcity where these, loser, hidden hand powers that shouldn't be and sock puppets do everything they can to distract the general public, lie, cheat, and steal from the general public, and do everything to restrict and constrain and force them more and more and more into a prison planet. And not only that, they do it in a way that is so sick that it forces the all our relations to love their oppression and suffering. You know, so much so that they will rather be stuck in this oppression than take a chance and get out and move, and do something different and try something new and have a good time. Now, I've done all of those things my whole life, but still did things because I was restricted by this sick society that I'm in. And even though I was freer than most people, I had the opportunity to expand my consciousness more than most people. I was able to, you know, live the kind of life I thought I really wanted on my own terms, but I was still stuck because there was in this, environment of a mirrored fun house of a no-win scenario, and I just wouldn't give up trying to, you know, fulfill my life to in every day and every way take the piece of the earth and make it stronger through love's co-creation. And I kept doing it, but the more I did it, the less kind of stuck I got. The more I kind of understood the bigger picture. The more I tried to help others, the more it would help me. And now I'm at pushing 70, and I'm at that 80% mark where I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm trying, I'm working within the construct of all my relations and love's co-creation. Yes, I am still 20% unconscious moron, right? But I keep trying to put my consciousness, my perspective, within the focus. Just like you said, you're looking through the wrong lens, Twitchy. I got those three lenses. I just keep turning around. As long as I can stay in focus in that 80% being aware and awake to love's co-creation, the closer and closer I do. And that's why even though I died 6 times, I keep coming back because, the universe and my masters want me to, as Grandfather David would say, did you have a vision? Every time we would do ceremony, we'd go into state and I'd come back out. Did you have a vision? Because he was trying to squeeze 30 years of shamanic training into like 4 months. So he definitely wanted me to keep having training and, visions. And he didn't want me to do any substances because a lot of Indians would drink to have visions and then they'd become alcoholics. A lot of people in his tribe would do drugs and then become addicted, and they were all looking for that shamanic path of all their relations. They knew it. It was just out of reach. They knew it. They knew as children, they knew it. They experienced it. And then they got whipped and beat and pushed and prodded and forced into to be something they weren't, which is what everyone pretty much in our illusionary world. The people we come in contact are just as oppressed as the black slave, the Chinese, indentured servant, the Indian criminal, because that's what indigenous people have always been, criminals. The only good Indian is a dead one. And they did a really good job of killing them off. There was close to 400 million indigenous people on, North, South, and Central America. And what's truly amazing, these guys who I talked to at the library, and the people who say the stupidest things are the ones who think they're the smartest. There's a guy who's a retired surgeon, right? Another guy who's a retired lawyer. Another guy who's a retired electrical engineer from GE. And every time I said, oh, you worked on nuclear weapons, he nearly shits a brick because the GE factory that's kind of closed now in our area near Salem basically made nuclear weapons. Out front it said GE Energy, Department of Energy, and who makes nuclear weapons but the Department of Energy, right? Not the Defense Department, but the Department of Energy. It's like one of those little sleight of hands, where the money goes. And how you knew it was a plant where they were building nuclear weapons, that if you went to this park down the road and went up to the top of the park, you could kind of see you couldn't see into, but you could see the roofs of those big, big, big buildings, those assembly buildings, and all the other little buildings. And they all had these kind of skylights that were part of the Intermediate Ballistic Missile Treaty. And what that treaty said was every place that Russia and France and England and India and the United States made nuclear weapons, those were all the guys who signed it, but mostly the United States and Russia, was all their facilities, they had windows so their satellites could look into those facilities and see what they're doing. And as long as everybody knew what everybody was doing, everybody's fine. And that's why there are all these journals like Aviation and Space Weekly and JANS, and Russian makes ones, the French make ones, that they publish everything they're doing in the aviation and space world. I mean, to the nut, to the bolt. And so those countries don't need intelligence things to spy on people, because all that information, that military information, is contractually shared amongst everybody. They're like partners, right? What the intelligence groups do are keep an eye on their own people and the folk all around the world who might be a threat to their power base. And that's what the intelligence folks. And who has the best intelligence entity on the planet is the Catholic Church. Better than the CIA, better than the NSA, better than any of the above. So, I've been kind of pumping you guys to go into state, even while I was telling you these little stories. And you've been focusing your conscious mind on your breath and breathing in that 20% and breathing in the prana, and your diaphragm has lifted and the prana has gone into your blood as the heart pushes the blood, the iron-rich blood, through your lungs, and the prana goes into that. And as the blood flows through your arterial system, it swirls. It doesn't go blub, blub, blub. It swirls. And it swirls against the walls clockwise, and inside of that counterclockwise, and inside of that clockwise. See that clearly. And what that does is make scalar current that basically energizes every cell in your body. And as every cell is mitosing, as the DNA kind of zips apart and the RNA goes in there and makes that special relationship, and it's energized by the mitochondria of each cell, and it's got all those little lightning bolts, and that's the prana, and the scalar energy, pumping, that's what, gives your bag of water, life, instead of just being a bag of water with some minerals in it, it animates you. It's that energetic. And that in that process of mitosis, your body is filled with photonic light. And that's why people like Jesus and saints and Mary and all of the higher evolved, ascended masters, never see any paintings or drawings of these guys and gals. They not only have halos, they do not throw a shadow. Go take a look at all the the paintings, and you will find there are no shadows. And that's, all of this art and literature and etc. These are all there to show us the way. They are harmonic and shamanic uh, experiences and tools to give us the key to understand, because that's what the Bible is. The Bible is a code. It's a coded, owner's manual to life. And that's why, the hidden hand, the powers that shouldn't be, and the sock puppets do everything they can to confuse us from the thing that's right in front of our face. And what's occurring right now, they put in a character player, Donnie Chump, who still thinks he's on the set of The Apprentice. Um, they've got him there acting out this whole thing of distraction, creating a counter harmonic of dissonance, and distraction and dis-ease. Hopefully, because what they're trying to do desperately as we, fly further and further into the Aquarian age, the age of Aquarius, they are, go listen to that song again. And in the year 2525, if man is still alive, go listen to that song. It's prophetic. They, again, the hidden hand, powers that shouldn't be, and the sock puppets, they're doing everything they can, just hanging on their fingernails, because all that has to happen is a quantum, more than enough, that will kick off that chain reaction of the 100th monkey. And that's what we are. We are monkeys. The 100th monkey goes, wait a minute. Is this, no, we're not in a prison planet. We're in a planet of love's co-creation. We're in a planet of abundance. We're in a planet, and like the pop of a bubble, that illusion, that kind of milky baby powder universe that we live in will cease to exist. Bang. And all our relations will be one in love's co-creation. That's all it takes. Just a, 100th monkey. That's all it takes. And we have 260 something cadre. We got more than the 100 monkeys. It's just that not 100 of the 260 is like in the same spot. They're looking through the wrong lens. And all they have to do, all 260 of us just have to click, 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 keep turning those lenses until we hit the right one. And bingo, we will see love's co-creation right in front of us, and the pop of the bubble of the Luciferian illusion will go away. And it's not, and Lucifer will be brought back into the fold. We will give Lucifer a big hug, because Lucifer is he's not the enemy. He's not the, evil. No, he is part of all our relations. And if he's not part of it, then the bubble won't pop. We all have to get on the bus and go back home. Not just some of us, not like the born again Christians. Yes, the 10,000. We're I'm chosen. You're going to hell. No, sorry, not going to happen. And that cat or kitten, is not a true Christian, because the true Christian said, "Oh, I've been told I am a part of that chosen, and I'm, not going unless everyone else here can go. They can't go to hell. They have to come to heaven. It's all of us or none of us, right? And that includes Lucifer. Otherwise, he's going to be keeping the door closed. He's going to, I'd rather be, what's that thing from I forgot who said it, but you know, the center will collapse and everything turns to shit. But I'd rather be the head honcho in hell than kissing the toes of God in heaven. And no, can't have that because you're not going to be kissing the toes of God. No, you're going to be co-creating with love. We're all in it to win it. We are living. Our existence is not a zero sum game. It's you know, a land and existence of abundance. And two, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. A little squirrel in your head in the middle chamber of the Rolodex of your mind is asleep, right? And your body is on automatic pilot, and your body is in a comfortable, safe spot, and you are illuminating your Akashic record, and you are taking that light and from your imaginary mirror where you have your dreams, and you're shining that photonic light into your subconscious. And it's not a place of scary monsters. It's the library of your Akashic record, and you're walking in, and there's a fireplace in front of you, and the nice lounge chairs for guests, and your reading table, and behind your reading table where you're sitting down is your reading chair. To your left is your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. Your librarian brings your Akashic record. You open it up, and you evacuate all the fear, anger, hate, self-deprecation, self-loathing, all the negativity of this dualistic, separated illusion, and you put it in your Akashic record. You close the book, boom. No longer is this any of this negative energy inside of you. You open up the book, then you turn to a different blank page, and then the screen comes up, and around it is 28 little screens. And all of that anger is kind of bleeding through from the other page into your screen, and you're not seeing it like the burning anger, fear, self-loathing, but you're seeing the elements of the component parts that make you separate yourself from love's co-creation. And that separation is the vehicle that keeps you stuck. I want you to really look at this, right? See that anger, fear, and self-loathing bleeding up. See how it is the component parts of that thing that keeps you stuck. I want you to look at those 28 little screens all around, and you're getting a different angle of, oh, here I was being born. This is what mommy felt. This is what daddy did. This is what my siblings did. This is what the kids in school did. This is how the teachers, all of those things that either brought to you or, ratified your self-loathing, thus sticking you to that flypaper. See what that flypaper is. And because it's in your Akashic record and not in you, you are not emotionally feeling it, and you're not physically being affected by it, but you're looking at it with perspective. And any point in that you don't understand, you turn to your animal totem and say, so tell me a story about this, right? And whatever fear that you see kind of bleeding up from that which you've just evacuated into your Akashic record, your guardian angel has your back. So you feel no fear. You have this entity that's going to explain within a story whatever you don't understand, and whatever new knowledge you need that you can't get from this Akashic record. Your library has another book under their arm. See all of this clearly. I'm going to be quiet now. I want you in depth, really conscious, really aware. You are like conscious like Buddha is conscious when he was by the side of the road, vibrating like God, and a moron traveler said, well, man, are you God? And Buddha said, no. Well, what are you, man? And Buddha replied, I am awake. And that's what you are right now in your Akashic record. You are awake like Buddha. So see all of this clearly. See it clearly now. There are no obstacles. There are no excuses. See it clearly now. See it clearly now. See it clearly now. Going to be quiet, and you're going to go into a deep, 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 awake understanding of what you're seeing in your Akashic records. See it now. And 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. Your avatar's conscious mind, where the squirrel lives in that cage in the Rolodex of your mind, totally relaxed. And you have traveled with the photonic light of your imaginary mirror into your Akashic record, and you have just seen in your Akashic record all of the component parts that stick you to that flypaper of your misery, right? Why you can't step up. When you take a step up, you get pushed back too. And the only thing keeping you going is that great integrity, and that's why you're part of the cadre, is because you don't give up. But I've been giving you these tools to, by a quantum level, increase your ability to understand the storyline of your spirit, your soul, why you're here, where you came from, and what you're doing. See it clearly. And you've experienced, as Grandfather David would say, have you had a vision? You've experienced a vision that have starting to put it all together, just like Tetris, all those little squares coming right together the way they should be, right? And so you get up and you feel light and you feel relaxed and you feel rejuvenated and you're in your Akashic record and you walk over to the fireplace and the smoke and the fire come out of the fireplace and 2 avatars of the ascended masters, Jesus of Nazareth and Buddha, appear. And you go over to those nice, comfy, lounge chairs, and all 3 of you sit down, and there is a nice pot of tea, and you pour the tea, and you 3 of you drink it, and then Jesus picks up the cup that you were drinking out and reads your tea leaves. And I will be quiet while you get informed by Jesus. And 3, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of conscious relaxation. Your conscious mind, that your squirrel lives in the metal cage of your Rolodex of your mind, is totally asleep. Your avatar is on automatic pilot, and you are sitting in a lounge chair with Jesus on one side and Buddha on the other. And you're in this bubble of unconditional love. And as this unconditional light becomes more energized with photonic light, you're starting to realize that Jesus and Buddha are the same. And you're realizing that you are also the same. And in that that bubble of photonic light, it's like, the ascended master avatar easy bake oven, and you are being baked with unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, unconditional grace. And these are becoming part of your DNA. And the more you go into state, the more you meditate every day, the more you will energize the state of grace that will give you the ability to, and every day and every way and every moment, to see that thing that you should be doing, that thought you should be having, that word you should be speaking, that action you should be taking, and that outcome that you will be negotiating to bring forth, love's co-creation amongst all our relations. See it clearly. You're being baked. And I'm going to leave you to get nice and toasty with Jesus of Nazareth and Buddha. See how they're light, they're photonic light, and then you become one with that. And as you focus on this, you realize that you too are an ascended master. You're not that creature, that lowly creature of self-loathing that the environment of separation, of duality, has forced upon you. That you are not the fault of any ill happenings. See this clearly. And 3, you feel totally baked, totally toasted, totally at one. See it clearly. And every day and every way you take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. And you're coming back through your imaginary mirror. You're coming to realization. You're coming to a place of understanding. And 2, you're back in your avatar and you feel relaxed and rejuvenated and fresh as a daisy. And 1, you're awake. Oh, you feel really good. And we all got to go. I'll see you soon, tomorrow. I love you all. And remember, get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at gmail. And I'll see